I just feel like the clients get very excited and they just want to bring everyone they know to just, get that positivity. I'm a very positive person. I have so much aloha to give. And so I share it, right? So people will
Yeah.
come in and they're like, when I tell them what type of job do you want to have, and they'll be like, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I really want to be a diplomat. Or I really, CEO, and I just want a 9 to 5. I don't want the pressure. And they feel like they're going to get judged because most people would be like, you want to be a diplomat? Why would you want to scale down from being a CEO? You're at the top of the
Mm.
chain. What do you mean? But they don't understand all of the hardship that they go through as well, right? I don't judge. I'm like, okay, let's do it. That's fine.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7 and 8 figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Kevin, and today we are joined by Brenda Bardaels.
There you go.
Welcome to the show, Brenda.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I was checking out your LinkedIn and all that. It looks like you're a doctoral candidate for a PsyD. You're telling me about your coaching business, how you have over like 100 clients, or maybe not over, you're trying to scale back, but you have 100 clients. I'm so blown away. I'm like, let's start with the lore. How did you get into coaching? And what was the moment that you're like, dude, I should do coaching? Let's start off there.
Yeah, of course. So I fell into it, I want to say by accident. I actually moved to California in 2020, and it was at the beginning
Mm.
of the pandemic, and I was in healthcare, right? And of course, during that time, healthcare was just kind of insane. It was a cultural shock for me. I was coming from Hawaii, right? So I ended up using a workforce program to help me, look for work and so on. And within weeks, they actually offered me a job to do career coaching there. And I took it, right? But at the beginning, I struggled. It was hard. Usually are put on these positions because maybe, we're good at doing resumes or interviewing and so on, but no one really gives you that guideline, right, to get started on it. So I stepped away from it and went back to healthcare for a little bit. As luck would have it, I was with a company that also got affected by the COVID, leftovers. And so I was laid off. So I went back to the program and they offered me another role. And I thought, based on my first experience, I don't know. But I thought, why not? Let me interview for it and see what this is about. And so, what encouraged me or inspired me was the mission. It was helping service members and military spouses to navigate employment, right? And I was given the opportunity to own the process. I was given the opportunity to build the map and the guide for them. And so I like that. I didn't have the parameters. I could actually study and make the plan myself. So that was exciting. Yeah, within a year, I was already starting to coach probably about 40 to 50 clients a month, and a lot of them came by word of mouth. And it was exciting just to see them coming in, not knowing what to expect or expecting the typical, let me see your resume, these are the jobs that are available, which one do you want to apply for, right? I actually used psychology to kind of understand what exactly they wanted me to help them with, what were their expectations, and I did my best to meet them. So I enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, I think you would enjoy if you're having that many clients too, which is interesting. You said something really interesting too. You mentioned how you use kind of like psychology. How does your approach differ from most other coaches out there?
So I cannot speak for other coaches and their methods that they use, but what I've heard from clients is creating that safe space, right? Just asking the right questions. How can I help you? What is it that you want to get out of this session? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And where do you see yourself in 6 months from now, right? What do you want to leave this session with? And so, again, I try to meet their expectations. And I feel like sometimes coaches are very determined, especially when they have those methods that have worked for a long time, right? Why fix something that's no broken? So if it's working for them, it might work for other people, but it's not for everyone. So when they hit those clients that essentially that ABC one size fits all doesn't work, then they come to me and I'm over here just essentially going one step forward, two step back, then three step forwards, and it's just very personable, you know? I feel like that's what works. And psychology has given me the tools to understand the human behind the professional.
How did you end up in your target market or target audience? Like, how did you decide who do you want to help?
Right. So I'd love to help everyone, but as a service member myself, I feel like I can find that relation between what we do in the military and how can that be translated into the civilian sector, right? Because I've also worked mainly as a civilian. I've only been serving about 7 years. You know, before that, I was in the civilian sector, so I can make those connections just very easily. And I have a big admiration for the troops and all of the things that they get to do. I feel like they're very valuable in the civilian sector for sure.
And so it sounds like your experience really played a huge role in it, and especially with the empathy part. Let's talk about the marketing. How do people usually find you, I guess?
It's very much word of mouth. I'm active on social media. I like to promote people. One of the things that I found out working with other career coaches or recruiters, HR managers, is that sometimes they want to gatekeep. They feel like if I start sharing clients, then I'm not going to have clients for myself and so on. For me, it's like take my clients, take some of the clients. The need is there, and I don't want somebody waiting 2, 3 weeks to see me, right? When they could be having their job next week if they see you. So it's a lot of connection. I work with other people and refer people out, especially the recruiters that have expertise or the coaches that have expertise on fields that I don't, right? I don't know it all. So if I have somebody perhaps in architecture and construction, right? City development, I can do and dive into it, but it's not my expertise. If I, a coach that it's within that field, I would 100% send that client over, right? My goal is to help the client, not to just take their money and not support them.
Yeah. You also mentioned social media too as a part of it. Like, what platforms are you focused on with the social media aspect?
Yeah, so I do LinkedIn, Instagram, a couple of Facebook groups, and that's about it. I don't do TikTok and I don't do Snapchat or anything like that. I don't do X or Twitter at all. I just focus on those three platforms, and I feel like I have a good enough audience there to where I can, promote whatever is happening, not just my events, but other people's events, other people's workshops as well. That helps a lot. And it's easy for people to share using those platforms, right? It's easy to just hit the share button or comment. Their algorithms are great to share that information, so it works out for me.
That's so interesting. And you mentioned word of mouth is a huge part of your business. So I'm kind of curious, what was that tipping point, right? Because typically with word of mouth, it starts off pretty slow, but then ramps up. When did you kind of notice that tipping point for yourself?
Right. I just feel like the clients get very excited and they just want to bring everyone they know to just, get that positivity. I'm a very positive person. I have so much aloha to give. And so I share it, right? So people will
Yeah.
come in and they're like, when I tell them what type of job do you want to have, and they'll be like, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I really want to be a diplomat. Or I really, CEO, and I just want a 9 to 5. I don't want the pressure. And they feel like they're going to get judged because most people would be like, you want to be a diplomat? Why would you want to scale down from being a CEO? You're at the top of the chain. What do you mean? But they don't understand all of the hardship that they go through as well, right? I don't judge. I'm like, okay, let's do it. That's fine. You're not going to give me a lesson. I have no authority to give you a lesson. That's what you want to do, right? They always leave with a smile. They always leave so positive. And so then I get, their friends, relatives, and I heard about you and can we talk and so on. So I think that's what helps. Just having that positivity helps a lot.
So one of the reasons why I love this podcast is because I love hearing about the different business models and what's working with different coaches at different stages, right? And so I guess like your coaching style, like what does that kind of look like for you? Because some coaches they offer one-on-one coaching, others have group coaching, others have different mediums. What do your coaching modalities look like?
Yeah, so I like one-on-one, but when we do interview preparation, I actually like to do group. The one-on-one is great just because people are at different stages. And I want to get to know what the person really is about and what are their actual goals. But when we do interview preparation, I like it because we role play. And now you're role playing in front of strangers. Essentially, when you go in your interview, you're going to talk to strangers. So I want to break you out of your discomfort to be able to elaborate, right? Who you are as a professional and explain yourself in a way that others that don't know you will understand. By the time you see me, I've seen your resume, I've done my research, I looked through your LinkedIn, I Googled you, I've done all that I need to do to know, okay, who's about to walk through this door, right? But the other
Yeah.
clients have not. I take their feedback as well. Did you understand what this person's qualifications are? Do you have any feedback for them? And they help each other. So I like that part. It's a community building. They find support. They're all on it together looking for the next role. And sometimes most people do it alone, right? So having that little community, again, I think it just helps a lot. But that's my style, one on one or in a small group setting.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. And then the other thing I'm curious about too is like, you don't have to share any numbers or anything like that, but how did you, especially when you're starting, how did you come up with your like pricing strategy too? Because some coaches, they charge per hour. Some others kind of do a project type of thing where it's like for a set duration of time. Others do value-based pricing. And so how did you kind of come up with your pricing?
Right. So I do have a standard pricing for resume, and the resume building for me is like a one time and go, right? We usually do a couple of sessions. By the third or fourth session, they kind of understand how they can leverage technology to help them fix their resume, but also using a little bit of, old school methods, which is printing the job descriptions and so on, right? So I have a set price for that. And then I have another set price for the coaching, which is used sometimes it's just a one time or a two times 1 hour. It hardly if ever goes the whole hour. Sometimes it's 45 to 50 minutes at most. And sometimes it goes a little over the hour, right? They're two different prices. I hate charging in the unemployed. I do. So
Mm.
for the resumes that are a little more on the lower price, just because I'm trying to help someone that looking for that help, right? And also continue to promote so that people can get the job that they want. So it's a little more on the easier side because again, they're unemployed. For the coaching side, it's a little higher just because a lot of the people that do come for coaching are people that are on higher end positions and they're looking to move into something better. So they're well set. I wish it was the other way around. I wish people that were on those lower end positions actually reached out to coaching so that they can grow. But I don't think that as a society we are there just yet, right? It will be hard to have someone working at a fast food chain thinking, I'm about to reach out to a coach and invest in myself because that's going to help me grow. I wish we had that mentality. But the reality is no, they're usually just coming in for a resume review, right? Or they're calling me to help them to apply for their next fast food role or their next just company regular 9 to 5. I do encourage them to come in and look beyond that. But for the most part, they're set, they know what they want, right? And again, I'm no one to influence necessarily or tell them what would be best for them. I just support them where they're at.
Yeah, I like that. I wonder if there's any organizations that like would work with you, especially for like, you know how there's like state programs or government
Right.
programs sometimes to help people. Have you ever like been offered those like type of opportunities at all?
Yes, I have worked with various programs. I've worked helping educate employers when they're bringing in military talent. How would that look like, right? Sometimes they don't understand, how what a combat engineer can really do in customer service. They can do a lot, right? So I do help them with that, the escalation. Like, they're experts on the field. I've helped organizations a lot of the bases as well when they're doing their transition services to help service members understand how they can bring, their combat engineer skills into the civilian sectors and leverage that as well. What would that can translate into, and as also what other roles they can look for. I work with universities too, helping students how to decide where to go for their degree. What can they ask themselves to, I'm setting myself up for the next 4 years of my life to study something that I actually can do something with, right? Not just get that degree and not enjoy it.
I'm kind of curious about your own ambitions, right? Because we talked a little bit about the business stuff, but
Yeah.
I guess, where do you want this coaching business to take you in the next few years? Do you have any secret dreams, big ambitions no one knows about? I know that you want to finish your doctorate and stuff as well, but like I'm kind of curious about the coaching side.
Yeah, so part of why my doctorate has a specialization in occupational health psychology. And what I like about that is that, again, people don't talk about the repercussions of certain positions. They tell you all the job security, you get paid really good, the benefits are great, there is a lot of work, but nobody talks about what happens to the professional on the human side when you have such a heavy work. So I like to bring that psychology part into the workforce development and also help clients understand. I'll give you an example. I had a client who wanted to become an x-ray technician for the same reason hospitals are everywhere. Everyone will always need an x-ray technician and so on. And I thought, okay, he had no experience. Totally fine. Let's look what would that look like, right? So we found them a program and we found them potential employers. He was set to go and I'm like, okay, have you looked at what is the day-to-day like to be an x-ray technician? In his mind, people would come into the x-ray room, they'll take the pictures, next patient coming in, right? In reality, they have to take that x-ray machine to those areas where clients cannot move. And then they have to move, I mean, patients cannot move, and they have to move the patient. So there is a lot of hauling of machinery and moving bodies. That was the biggest turnoff for the client. He's like, I never considered that part of it. I'm like, okay, I just saved you a ton of time and effort into a role because they failed to see how that would affect them physically. It was on the older side as well. So it's like, I don't think I have it in me. Exactly. It's the strongest word. So those are the
Yeah.
little things that I want to bring for people to consider. Like, yeah, this is the job that you want to do. Now let's look at the cons of it and see if it's something that you would still like to pursue.
One of the things I'm really curious about, since you are balancing a program and you have this coaching business, what are kind of the challenges and bottlenecks that you're noticing at the moment?
Oh my goodness, AI. Somebody help me with AI. We're all familiar that employers are using the ATS, the applicant tracking system software, because they get hundreds of applicants, and it is just not fair for HR to have to go through all those applications. So I understand they're using software to kind of, look for the keywords on resumes and so on. Now they're using it for interviews as well. Some of my clients are interviewing with actual AI systems, not a human. And so that's one of the biggest challenges, just trying to rapidly adjust to how much organizations are using AI for their hiring practices when we really have not had many programs that educate us on the repercussions or the best practices of using those systems, right? Anyone has a program out there that can help us all understand how to better navigate this, that would be great. And, I do my own research. I'm a scholar. I take my notes, I do my research, I look for my patterns, and I have a good handle on getting through the systems and navigating the softwares. But we could definitely all benefit from having someone that becomes a subject matter expert and help us, how to better utilize it.
I think about like entrepreneurs, right? Like we're always looking at ways to like hire and do all the tasks that we don't like because especially with AI, it drops the cost of like human capital so much. Like you don't have to pay someone. But then I never really thought about the other side too, like at a corporate level or anything like that too. So pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, you're
Let's
right. You don't have to pay to anyone. The margin of error, I'm sure it gets reduced, right? If you have the right intelligence on the software, for sure.
You know how like there's these classic books on how to manage people, management and all that. But I think as time goes on, that's going to be somewhat I'm not going to say it's going to be completely obsolete, but that's going to be somewhat obsolete because you're just managing AI robots and agents and stuff like that. So it's kind of fascinating.
Right,
Um,
but usually they get coded by humans.
well, until they start coding themselves, which is pretty crazy. Have you seen like the new
I'm
chat
not there yet.
GPTs and all that? Yeah, it's
I'm
pretty
not
crazy.
there
I
yet.
don't want to
Don't
scare you.
scare me.
Terminators are right here, by the way, FYI. I do want to play a segment with you. I'm
Okay.
very, very curious. I have this segment called Good Investment, Bad Investment. And
Ooh.
I'm very curious about the best thing you spent your money on for your coaching business and the worst thing that you kind of wish you got your money back from. on your coaching business? This could be anything. It could be coaching, it could be training, team members, hires, masterminds, ads, or anything like that. Very curious from your end. So, best investment, worst investment.
Okay. So the worst investment was actually I have two. I got myself a coach and I did not do my research the right way. She's a professional coach and I didn't do the research the right way. I just selected her because she was another female and I thought female to female, we got this. It was a horrible experience. A lot of the advice that I was given, nothing related to me being on my world and being in the military as a woman, pursuing my doctorate, and still trying to keep up with a career. There was nothing she could relate to. A lot of her advice was just not applicable. If I would have done it, I think it would have been just horrible for my career. I guess it was a good learning lesson. I just wish it wasn't such an expensive learning lesson, you know? And then the second one was I bought one of those 12-week programs. Join my coaching program, 12 weeks. I will make you the greatest entrepreneur on earth and so on. So I did that. And that's one of those one size fits all. It was 12 weeks just wasted. And I'm just being generous. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
nothing there for me. So I definitely would advise against the one size fits all 12-week programs. They're no bueno. And if people do want to get their coach, please do get a coach 100%. Just do your research and make sure that the coach is within the field that you want to enter or that you are currently in. And it's ahead of you, of course. And then the best investment would be my education. Oh my gosh, let's all go to school and get a master's degree. I got a bachelor's
Really?
and let's do it.
I didn't
Please.
expect this,
I
that this
know,
would be
huh?
the best.
Yeah, that's what people would say. So I finished my bachelor's psychology and I thought, "Oh, I know it all. I'm great. I can go and, be a manager or whatever." But then I pursued the master's and it was like a whole new level just opened up. I learned a lot and I think that helped me also be more intentional with the steps that I take on my career. And now with the doctorate, I mean, even better. I love it. I'm learning so much, not just how to create the best processes, but how processes are created and how essentially we ended up on the way that we are in workforce, right? It's very important for me to have that education and the evidence-based practice, not just the I believe this will work, but based on other people's experiences, this shows that it would be an effective method. So yeah, education 100%.
Cool. This is my last question for you.
Okay.
If you had to start over tomorrow with zero followers, zero clients, none of the relational capital that you have so far, but you have all the wisdom that you do have now, what would you do in the first 90 days, like to rebuild your coaching practice?
Start building the network would be it. I feel like I've done it. Moving from Hawaii to here with no contacts. I did my undergrad in Washington. It was the same. I moved there, no contacts, alone, right? And connecting with people was probably the best thing because they're going to lead you to their connection. So that essentially that's what I would do. One is set my intention. Where do I want to be in 90 days from now? And then plan backwards. What do I need to do in order to get there all the way to
Reverse
the
engineer.
next day, which would be probably go down to a coffee shop and start talking to someone local.
Yeah, because a lot of people say networking, right? And are there any particular groups or types of people, especially for your industry? We'll go super specific for you. What type of people would you kind of want to connect with, I guess?
I do teach the clients how to go and network. I love it. I'm an introvert, believe it or not. I'm a social introvert, but I do find value in connecting with other people. Every conversation will have something that would help you grow, even as a person or in your career, right? So I do network everywhere, anywhere from the gym. I send people that go to church or temple. Usually, in those places, people want to help. If someone says they need help, you're going to have 10 to 20 hands that will raise their hand, right? To say, yes, I can help you or I can try to help you. Going to coffee meets here in California, in Orange County, the Chamber of Commerce and a lot of organizations like to do coffee with the police, coffee with ex-business. And so they do it in the morning. They meet at local bakery and people just come in to grab a cup of coffee and network before they go to work or, they go on with their day. So I love those. It's professional, it's very intentional as well. Doing meetups. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention app, but Meetups are a great way to meet other communities that you just go for walks, for runs, or anything that's of a special interest. You're meeting other people that one are interested on the things that you like, but two probably employed, possibly doing a role that you want to do yourself, right? So meetups are great as well. I met amazing people. But yeah, networking is the way to go for sure. In my defense, I don't go out there targeting people. They just come to me. They just see me and they're like, "You look like you could help me."
You know, one of the things that I love doing personally to meet new people, I actually like hosting events too. I used to
Yeah.
read this book called 2 Hour Cocktail Party or 2 Hour something. I forgot what it was called, but like hosting event, I think that's a thing that people don't really think about a lot of time is like hosting events. So, have you
Right.
ever hosted events in the past?
Yes, I have a lot of fun with it too. It's just so time consuming. My goodness gracious,
Yeah.
it's time consuming,
Yeah.
right? But this past weekend, we actually hosted a suicide challenge
Mm.
sprint, which it was to create increase suicide awareness, and we did a little fundraiser. A lot of civilians and soldiers showed up, and they did the race. But just to do that, just the logistics, right? I had to draft a route. I had to ask permission from authorities. I had to have a medic. We had to have the water and fruit or so on for the people that was gonna run. So the logistics when you're hosting an event is quite a lot. But I do recommend it at least once a year, give it a try. Why not? I don't know about mixing alcohol on the event. What do you think of that?
Oh,
How did that turn out?
I don't personally drink, but I have heard creative ways to include alcohol at an event. So there's this really cool type of event that I heard about. It's called a champagne soiree. Have you ever heard of this before?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, it's a really interesting format. So it's meant for maybe about 6 to 8 people total. So you invite 3 to 4 friends, and there's only two requirements that you need to bring. You bring some champagne that you personally like, and then you bring a friend that no one else knows. And that's a really easy way to just like meet new people and just expand your network while being super intimate. Because sometimes like you go to a networking event and there's like hundreds of people and you're like, oh crap, I forgot this person's name. But you're like, yeah. And the cool part about Champagne Soiree is like, since they're friends of your friends, most likely you'll be friends with those people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. That's a great idea. Bring someone that no one else knows. I
Yeah.
like that. I
Try
wonder
it.
if I've
It
ever
doesn't have
been
to,
that someone. Because I've been
maybe.
invited to events, and I don't know anyone, and I'm there, so I might have been that.
Yeah, you can theme it any way that you want. Like, I'm sure you could, if you're a Trader Joe's girly, you could do a Trader Joe's event or something like that. I don't know. You can put your own stipulation around your own event, but I just find that hosting events is like honestly one of the best ways to meet people too.
I think so. I like that.
Well, Brenda, I got to ask you, how can people find you? How can they connect with you? Yeah,
Yeah, so I
get us
am on
rolling.
LinkedIn. I'm very, very active there. At least once a month, I make it a duty to post events that are happening, workshops that are happening for that month. And it's nationwide, not just in California, just for people to know, especially recruiters. There are a lot of recruiters on LinkedIn, so they can share with their clients as well. I'm also
Nice.
on Instagram, as I mentioned. It's Briette Losal. Kind of hard to find, but I'll send you the link. Maybe you can put it on the description.
Sure.
But yeah, the stories, I share a lot of what other people post in there that I feel like is helpful for other people. My content is, I post about events and so on, but my main goal is to share what others are doing because it's very valuable, right? A lot of people have way more expertise than I do, so I want to make sure that everyone gets access to that level of intelligence that otherwise might have not been accessible to them, right? So Instagram allows me to do that. And then Facebook, I usually join the group, but if anyone happens to be in any groups that are local to Orange County, you might see some of my posts there too.
It's amazing having you here, Brenda. It's like really interesting to see you balancing this doctorate program and then running your business and then also hosting events. I can definitely see like people who are looking for employment or trying to switch jobs. They're not always in the best spot sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it can be really, really tough. And you just bringing some positivity or this light into the life can really uplift people. So I just want to recognize that with you.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Sometimes I feel like people forget what it's like to be unemployed. We've all been there, right? We've all been wanting that job. And I'm glad that you mentioned that sometimes they're not on the best path. Not everyone can be unemployed and be gracious at the same time, right? It takes a toll on
Yeah.
people's minds. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Thank you. Because
Yeah.
it's awareness that we all need to keep in mind. Yeah.
Cool. Hopefully we'll have you on for part two or something. But yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you for having me and thank you for all that you do.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.